The front door clicked shut behind me as I returned from a late client call, but the house felt too quiet, no soft welcome home from Megan, no jingle of her keys at the kitchen counter. I rounded the corner into the living room and froze at the low hum of her laptop left open on the coffee table. Its screen glowed with the Zoom icon pulsing, connecting, well past our agreed check-in time of 8 p.m. My throat tightened as I saw her purse tossed on the sofa cushion and a single red coffee stain ringed the edge of her travel mug, a stark contrast against its white porcelain. I dropped my briefcase and stepped closer, heart pounding, to lift the mug and inspect the stain, velvet smooth and unmistakably Megan's signature berry lipstick. The sight felt surreal. She'd promised to call me every evening from her conference hotel to catch up, even if it meant dialing in from the elevator. Instead, the empty screen stared back at me, and the stain whispered betrayal. My hands shook as I reached for her phone on the couch arm. It lay face down, screen dark, yet the lock screen preview flashed, a new message from Mark.Pilot with a winking emoji. My pulse hammered as I flipped it over. No missed call notification, no voicemail from me, just the text blinking in the night's hush. I thumbed the power button, and the message preview read, "Can't wait for tonight's sweet lounge chat," winky face beneath it, her name and profile picture seemed to leer. I sank onto the sofa, coffee mug trembling in my lap. The city's night lights shimmered through the window, indifferent to my unraveling world. Beatrice, our tabby, slunk over and rubbed against my leg, purring softly. I stroked her fur, grateful for her steady presence. "She won't text me," I murmured. "Not tonight." My mind raced back through the past week of Megan's glowing post-flight energy, how she'd gush over the in-flight dinner service with Mark, her laughter echoing as she praised his industry insights, the way she lingered in the hotel lobby after the evening keynote, phone pressed to her ear long after I said goodnight, the thin excuses, just editing footage, client follow-up, internet issues. I'd swallowed each one, trusting her implicitly while my doubts simmered beneath the surface. Now those doubts roared to life. I pressed my palm to the soft leather of the sofa, breathing in the faint scent of her jasmine perfume lingering in the air. My eyes landed on the travel itinerary spread on the coffee table, boarding passes, hotel confirmation emails, and a spreadsheet of per diem expenses I'd compiled for my own work trips. Among them lay the single PDF I'd grabbed as I rushed out this morning: Travel Media Pro, travel confirmation, Harris, Megan, Smith, Mark, double occupancy, room 712, June 14th to 16th. I strode back to the laptop, clicked open the file, and read the details once more, their names side by side, one room, charged to our joint account. Jessica's betrayal had the cadence of a well-worn pattern. Now, I had the smoking gun. I shut the laptop, paper slipping from its hinge, and returned to the sofa with the boarding pass printout in hand. Beatrice hopped onto my lap, tail twitching as I traced my finger along the line, double occupancy. I pressed the paper to my chest, fighting the sting of tears. I slid off the sofa and gathered the printout, lipstick-stained mug, and her phone into my arms. As I crossed the threshold into the hallway, every step echoed like a countdown to the confrontation I'd been dreading. The elevator's distant ding signaled the end of my denial. Tonight, I vowed, I would follow the trail she left in plain sight, no matter how painful the destination. I lie awake, the ceiling fan's steady rotation a cruel metronome marking each second of my growing panic. Beside me, Beatrice sleeps undisturbed, her gentle purr a soft reminder of innocence in a world that suddenly feels tainted. It began in early May, when Megan first mentioned that Eric, the keynote speaker at the Spring Tech conference, had offered to debrief her on stage design concepts over coffee. I remember the exact moment she told me, standing in our kitchen, her laptop open to a slide deck, her eyes bright with excitement. "He really gets the UX flow," she said, voice hushed. I smiled, poured her a cup of tea, and watched her swirl the amber liquid. I believed her. After all, collaboration is the lifeblood of innovation. That first Wednesday, she returned home after 9 p.m., cheeks flushed, eyes alight in a way I hadn't seen since we first met. Networking went late, she explained, shrugging out of her conference blazer. Eric invited me to continue the conversation at the hotel cafe. I nodded, though the soothing familiarity of our routine wavered. When I poured her tea, I thought I detected a faint scent of cedarwood on her scarf, nothing like her usual lavender vanilla fragrance. She said a fellow attendee had been passing around samples from an essential oil startup. I believed her because denial is a comforting refuge when you love someone. The next clues emerged subtly. I noticed Megan's daily video calls with me vanished on 2 consecutive evenings. At 8 p.m., when I reached for the phone to share my day, her chair sat empty. A quick glance at the screen showed connecting, but no Megan. I left a message, "Everything okay," and went to bed unsettled. In the morning, she brushed off my concern with a yawn and a smile. "Bad internet," she said. "These conference Wi-Fi networks are brutal." I accepted the excuse, though doubt flared faintly in my chest. A week later, I stumbled upon a cafe receipt in her purse, $48.20 at Blue Ruby Cafe, dated Wednesday at 11:14 p.m. The cafe closed at 10 p.m., yet the timestamp glared at me like an accusation. When I asked her about it over brunch, she laughed. "They have a 24-hour lounge," she said, waving the receipt like a magic trick. A pop-up courtesy of the venue. I shrugged it off, though the hairspray on her coat bore a different perfume that made my stomach knot, musk and citrus, not lavender. Then came the loyalty emails in our shared account, Wednesday night stays at the Red Maple Inn, an unremarkable motel half an hour from the conference center. Entries for Room 312, June 1st, Room 312, June 8th, and Room 312, June 15th appeared like red flags stamped across our calendar. I confronted Megan one morning, screen open on my laptop. "Why are you staying at a motel?" Her eyes flickered with surprise before smoothing into calm. "Just overflow rooms," she said. "The main hotel sold out. I paid for my per diem." I believed her because she was out of town for work, and conference housing can be unpredictable. But the pattern crystallized that night when I reviewed her Lyft receipts: pickups at the conference center at 7:05 p.m., drop-offs at the Red Maple Inn at 7:25 p.m., and returns at 1:10 a.m. I printed them and placed them beside the motel emails. The next morning, I asked her about the motel again while she packed her laptop bag. She sighed, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "It's just inconvenient," she said. "I'm tired and the apartment shuttle only runs until midnight." Her voice was weary, as though caring for me meant more work. Most damning was the discovery of her social media DMs. I found them when I unlocked our shared tablet to check my workout app and saw the notification from Eric Keynote, "Missed you today. Coffee tomorrow." My pulse jumped, and I tapped the message to reveal her response: "See you at 10 at the lounge. Can't wait." The entire thread was gone except for that single prompt. She must have archived it. I pocketed the tablet before she came in, my mind racing with implications. Memory faded into obsession after that. I replayed every Wednesday, the way Megan's laughter had sounded richer after her networking coffee, the frisson in her voice when she mentioned Eric's insight on user interactions, the softness in her gaze when she quoted his jokes. I remembered her late-night inquiries into hotel lighting, her sudden fascination with suite layouts. These were the breadcrumbs she left, and I'd swallowed them, too eager to please her to see them for what they were. Then there was the scarves. I'd first noticed the musk citrus scent in her blazer after a photo shoot at the conference expo hall. Weeks later, that scent drifted onto our bedding when she returned from her after-party brainstorming session. I'd told myself aromatherapy was an industry buzzword she was experimenting with for her blog audience. I hadn't stopped to wonder why the sponsor's brand didn't match any exhibitor listed in the conference guide. Finally, the personal items began to migrate. Megan's travel mug, once emblazoned with my initials, was replaced by a sleek stainless steel tumbler with a removable tea infuser, another giveaway from a hospitality sponsor Eric had invited her to collaborate with. I found the tumbler at home, unacknowledged, and set it aside. The morning after she spent that night in room 312, I discovered hotel room keys on the console table as if dropped by mistake. The keys jingled as I lifted them, recording the motel's logo on my memory. Now, my nights dissolve into charting the timeline in a notebook. May 5th, Blue Ruby Cafe 11:14 p.m., June 1st, Motel 312, June 8th, Motel 312, June 15th, Motel 312, June 16th, Mark's DM, July 12th, missing video call. With each entry, the mosaic of her duplicity sharpens. I recognize the cadence, conference jitters fueling collaboration, collaboration blossoming into intimacy, intimacy masked as professional synergy. By noon tomorrow, I will have collected her receipts, screen caps, and receipts, and set up a meeting with Richardson and Cole. Tonight, I'll lay the groundwork for the confrontation, armed with a dossier of her hidden rendezvous. Beatrice jumps onto the bed, nudging my hand. I scratch her head and whisper, "Tomorrow, buddy, we get our company back." In the darkness, I vow to trace every move, every whispered excuse, until the full story emerges. Then, I'll decide whether to salvage what remains or let go of the betrayal that has consumed my world. I wake before dawn, the apartment still wrapped in silence except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the soft whir of Beatrice's tail thumping against the wooden floor. I slip from the bed, careful not to disturb Jessica's peaceful breathing, and pad into the kitchen where yesterday's coffee mug still rests by the sink. The fluorescent glow of the counter lamp casts long shadows on the granite, and I feel the weight of every secret in those darkened corners. With deliberate calm, I flick on my laptop and create a new desktop folder titled Launch_Evidence. Today, suspicion becomes proof. First, I secure the most damning file, Harris_Jessica_AK_flight.pdf, left in the shared printer queue. I download it to my desktop, then encrypt it with a 20-character passphrase before moving it into launch_evidence/priority_proof. The locked icon gleams, an affirmation that no one can tamper with the truth. Next, I log into our corporate credit card portal and submit a request for the last 6 months of statements, exporting them as CSV files. The downloads complete with a low digital pop, and I import them into Excel. Hundreds of lines of transactions fill the screen: coffee, client lunches, software subscriptions, until I apply filters for Wednesday and charges over $50. Instantly, patterns emerge. On May 5th, a $72.80 charge at Velvet Bean Cafe at 10:15 p.m. On May 12th, $95.60 at the same cafe at 11:02 p.m. On May 19th, $68.20 at Ocean View Lounge Bar at 10:47 p.m. On June 2nd, $125.50 at Cerulean Suites Marked Wellness Stay at 7:30 p.m. And on June 9th, $110.40 at Café de España at 11:13 p.m. I copy these rows into a new workbook named Launch_Charges with columns for date, time, vendor, amount, and Jessica's explanation. Under Jessica's explanation, I transcribe her various alibis: post-yoga steam, networking event, studio demo, experimental workshop, market research debrief. Each excuse feels thinner than the last, like tissue paper stretched too far. I highlight the suspicious entries in amber, save the workbook to Launch_Evidence, then pour myself a cup of strong black coffee, no sugar no milk, to steady my nerves. As the kettle's hum fades, I open our shared Gmail account on a fresh tab and search for AK, Eric, and Deck. An email thread titled Midnight Deck Revisions from Eric at keynotespeaker.com at 11:23 p.m. last Wednesday catches my eye. I download the entire exchange as a PDF, the printer's software slicing the quiet, and place the printouts into a clear folder labeled email_logs. Jessica's slide edits in blue ink, Eric's comments in red. They feel intimate now, their timestamps ringing like a confession. Next, I harvest our location data via Google Maps timeline under the joint account. I select May 5th and watch the dot move, 6:01 p.m. at Pure Flow Yoga, then a sudden jump to Cerulean Suites at 7:15 p.m., and a return to Jessica's office at 12:28 a.m. I screenshot the sequence and save it as location_May5.png. I repeat the process for May 12th and June 2nd, capturing location_May12.png and location_June2.png. Each map image becomes undeniable proof of her nocturnal wanderings. With coffee in hand, I proceed to my next piece of evidence: phone billing records. I log into our mobile carrier portal and request a PDF of detailed call history for Jessica's number. Moments later, the file downloads. I open it and search for her number calling Eric's direct line after 10 p.m. on Wednesdays. 3 entries pop up: May 5th at 12:47 a.m., 8 minutes and 32 seconds, May 12th at 1:02 a.m., 9 minutes and 15 seconds, June 2nd at 12:55 a.m., 7 minutes and 48 seconds. I screenshot those rows, label them call logs, and slip them into the evidence folder. The late night durations underscore that these aren't mere mentoring calls but something more clandestine. My phone buzzes with a calendar alert: 3 p.m., attorney consult. I allow myself a small nod. I will seek legal counsel soon, but there's more groundwork to cover. Now, I turn to physical surveillance. I retrieve 2 compact Wi-Fi cameras, front cam and office cam, from the utility closet. On a step stool, I mount front cam in the living room corner with a clear angle of the front door and windows. Office cam goes above the hallway outside Jessica's study, capturing any after-hours departures. I plug both devices in, establish their network connection via the manufacturer's app, and label the feeds accordingly. Checking each feed on my phone, I see Beatrice curled on her bed in the living room and an empty hallway. I enable motion detection recording and automatic uploads to a secure cloud folder with time stamps. With this setup, every late-night exit or entry will be documented in infrared clarity. Finally, I call Mrs. Delgado, our neighbor 2 doors down, who remarked one night about seeing a black sedan idling outside our building at 10:30 p.m. on a Wednesday. She picks up cheerfully, and I explain I need a confidential statement about any unusual Wednesday night activity. She agrees to meet me at noon. Her affidavit will add an independent witness to my dossier. Before leaving, I pack my briefcase, the encrypted boarding pass, the expense spreadsheet, printed emails, location screenshots, call logs, camera bracketing notes, Mrs. Delgado's direction sheet, and a notepad with timeline annotations. I slip in my phone and keys, scoop Beatrice into my arms, whisper, "Stay here, buddy," and head out. The morning sun feels crisp, sharpening my resolve. I drive first to Mrs. Delgado's, then to Richardson and Cole's office for legal guidance. With each piece of evidence I collect, the map of Jessica's deception becomes clearer. Tonight, I will confront her. Tomorrow, I will decide the fate of our marriage, and I will do so armed with every shred of proof I've gathered in the solitude of these pre-dawn hours. That evening, I waited until our usual dinner hour had long passed. The living room was softly lit by a single floor lamp, casting Jessica's laptop screen in a pale glow on the coffee table. I had laid out the contents of my dossier on the low table, the encrypted boarding pass printout in its plastic sleeve, the launch_charges spreadsheet printed and highlighted, the call log screenshots, Google Maps screenshots of her Wednesday night detours, the printed email thread titled "Midnight Deck Revisions," and Mrs. Delgado's affidavit. Each item was a testament to her deception. I heard Jessica's key in the door at precisely 8:07 p.m. She slipped in quietly, phone in hand, the faint scent of eucalyptus drifting from her coat. She set her phone on the arm of the sofa and peeled off her scarf, revealing that subtle jasmine vanilla fragrance I knew so well. Her eyes immediately went to the table. "Mark," she asked, voice trembling. "What's going on?" I motioned to the cushion across from me. "Please, sit." My tone was calm but carried an unmistakable weight. She perched beside the evidence, the air between us charged with tension. Beatrice, our tabby, slunk in and settled at Jessica's feet, her curious green eyes shifting from my face to the incriminating documents. I reached for the boarding pass printout and slid it toward Jessica. "Explain this." Her gaze flicked to the PDF's header: Harris, Jessica, Smith, Eric K., Room 712, 1WAY, corporate charge. The self-booked flight for June 12 stared back. Jessica swallowed hard, her hand trembling as she lifted the paper. Her voice was small. "It wasn't supposed to be like this." I held up a hand to pause her, then tapped the launch_charges spreadsheet. "And these?" I traced the amber highlights: Velvet Bean Cafe late night charges, Ocean View Lounge Bar, Cerulean Suites wellness stay. Each row matched her excuses: post-yoga steam, client mixer, studio demo, market research debrief. I tapped the row marked June 2nd, $125.50. "You called this a studio workshop. This is a private hotel." Jessica's eyes brimmed with tears. I clicked my phone to display the GPS screenshots. "Look at your location on May 5th at 7:15 p.m., Cerulean Suites, not the studio." I swiped to May 12th and June 2nd, the blue dots tracing a path from yoga to suite to office. Jessica pressed her lips together, hands wringing. "It was part of the client package," she whispered. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you." I remained seated, exhaling slowly. "And these calls?" I tapped the call logs folder. The screen showed 3 calls past midnight to Eric's direct line: May 5th at 12:47 a.m., May 12th at 1:02 a.m., June 2nd at 12:55 a.m., each over 8 minutes. "Mentorship doesn't require midnight conversations," I said, voice steady but edged with hurt. Jessica's shoulders shook as tears fell. She lifted Mrs. Delgado's affidavit. He wanted my design input, she said, voice cracking. I needed someone to talk to. I set the affidavit back down. Mrs. Delgado saw you escorted into the lobby by a man in a pilot's jacket. That man isn't a client. I stood and retrieved the separation decree from my jacket pocket. I filed for temporary separation today. Our accounts are frozen, and you have until tomorrow afternoon to move out. Her sob was raw and frightened. She reached for me, but Beatrice hissed and backed away, tail bristling. Jessica flinched, recoiled, and stared at the floor. Please, Mark. I knelt and gathered Beatrice into my arms, holding her close. She stays with me, I said softly. I looked back at Jessica. I loved you. I wanted to trust you completely. But trust isn't blind. Jessica rose, gathering her bag and the affidavit. Her voice was hollow. I never meant to hurt you. I shook my head gently. I hope you find what you're looking for. I turned and walked to the hallway. The door clicked shut behind me, leaving the living room bathed in the soft glow of the lamp and scattered pieces of our broken trust. In the empty space, I felt a mixture of grief and relief. The confrontation had ended the deception, but it also ended the life we'd built together. As I leaned against the hallway wall, listening to Beatrice's steady purr, I understood that tonight's revelations would shape every step I took from here, toward healing, truth, and a future rebuilt on honesty. I stepped out onto the courthouse plaza clutching the signed separation decree, its crisp folds a testament to the end of our marriage. The sun was warm on my shoulders, a stark contrast to the cold finality inked on that paper. I tucked the document into my briefcase and exhaled, relieved that the legalities were complete, our accounts divided, Jessica's remaining belongings boxed to be collected, and full custody of Beatrice awarded to me. Back at the apartment, the emptiness was striking. The space Jessica once filled with laughter and late-night brainstorming now felt cavernous. I moved methodically through each room, gathering her things, conference swag, her signature scarves, that cedarwood perfume she claimed was next-gen aromatherapy. I placed the boxes by the door and retrieved the evidence folder, its contents now irrelevant to my next chapter. On the mantel, I replaced our wedding photo with a freshly printed Polaroid of Beatrice sprawled on her cat tree, her green eyes meeting the camera with unguarded trust. That small frame, paw-sized and silent, felt like a beacon guiding me forward. In the study, I cleared my desk of the second laptop and papers, leaving only my own workstation, a minimalist oak desk and ergonomic chair. I opened my laptop to a draft titled, When Trust Fractures, A Path Forward, the first entry already nestled under Chapter 1, Recognizing Red Flags. I sipped a mug of strong black coffee, no sugar, no cream, and began typing. Betrayal is rarely explosive. It whispers in late-night excuses, in excuses that grow louder as truths recede. Words flowed more easily than I anticipated, each sentence a stone laid on the road to my recovery. Later that afternoon, I met with Sarah Grant, a former colleague turned confidant, at the Riverside Cafe. Over sandwiches and iced lattes, I shared my vision for a support network focusing on ethical boundaries in work relationships, workshops, peer support groups, one-on-one coaching. Sarah's eyes lit up. You've lived this story. Your lessons could save others from the pain you felt. She sketched a rudimentary business plan on a napkin, modules on financial separation, emotional resilience, and rebuilding trust, offering to help me launch a pilot program within our professional circles. Walking home with Beatrice trotting beside me, the city's sunset painted skyscrapers in rosy hues. Joggers and dog walkers drifted past, each immersed in their own lives. Beatrice paused at a fire hydrant, then looked up, tail wagging as if to say, "Let's do this." I knelt to scratch her ears and whispered, "Tomorrow, buddy, we start helping others." That evening, I prepared a simple pasta dish, no longer cooking for two, and poured a glass of red wine. I set the table for one and placed a lantern at its center. Lighting its candle, I raised my glass in a silent toast to Beatrice, to new beginnings, and to the clarity I'd found amid the ruins. The flavors were sharper now, each bite a reminder that healing can be nourished by honest reflection. Before bed, I scheduled the first blog post for sunrise, titled, When Trust Fractures, A Path Forward, featuring Beatrice's Polaroid as its emblem of unwavering loyalty. I closed the laptop, turned off the lamp, and settled on the couch with Beatrice curled at my feet. Her gentle purring lulled me toward sleep, a steady rhythm that soothed the ache of the past. As I drifted off, I felt gratitude for the cracks that let the light in, for the end that became my beginning. Betrayal had splintered my world, but from those fragments emerged purpose, resilience, and the promise of integrity restored. With Beatrice by my side and words as my compass, I embraced a future built on trust reborn, one unwavering step at a time.